How we looking, full moon? We're good? Ready, good to go. All right, you guys. The Public Safety Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023 is called to order at 6:31 p.m. We're going to have a moment of silent meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. May we have roll call, please?
Roll call. Chair Nickerson,
Here.
Vice Chair Urbom,
Present.
Member Lightfoot Ward. Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christia Liu, Village Manager. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by, moved by, was it? Yeah, yeah, public safety. Moved by Committee Member Lightfoot Ward. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Urbom. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving along. No acknowledgement of visitors. Good and welfare. Anybody can come up and talk about what's on the agenda, which is a general review. If you have any public safety things, you can come up right now. Good and welfare, 3 minutes. First and last name for the record. There will be another time for you to talk and speak. Seeing, hearing none. You can wait for the second good and welfare. You can wait for the second. The first one.
Yeah, I wanted to say something.
No problem. The first one is about the Public Safety Committee. All right, so agenda item G1, general review. If I could have the chief and the major come up to the podium, please.
Oh, is it there or here? For the good and welfare?
You have to wait for the second good and welfare.
No, I wanted to say something about public safety. All right, I'll try. I have the most safe space.
How's it going? Good to see you.
You wait for the second good and welfare.
Oh.
All right, so a couple of things that are really good is I know that you guys can touch on this if you want to. We have a lot of new officers, few new officers that came in. We have some officers that have been doing wonderfully and they've been promoted. We're going to do all those swearing-ins at the upcoming informational exposition Saturday, November 4th at 12 p.m. sharp. Make sure you're here because on that day we're going to do a law enforcement appreciation like we did last year. And we're going to be swearing in the new officers and those who have been promoted. I know also that education has become a priority. We're going to speak about that in a second when it comes to the speeding. But I want to say one thing, just as far as a resident and also as a mayor and a council member, is that I've got a lot of phone calls. I've got a lot of text messages. I send you guys some of the screenshots and things like that when I get these phone calls, text messages, and stuff like that. Whereas the vast majority is switched around 180 degrees. Whereas years ago it would be complaints, especially when I was vice mayor those years. But now I'm getting nothing but mayor. I see the officers so much more than I used to. Like the officers are so much more visible now than they used to be. Mayor, I see them driving around, I see them doing things. So I just want to say, I appreciate that from you all, from your leadership, Chief and Major Harrison. And if you want to speak on and just touch on the certification status with the speeding, I know speeding is probably the number one thing that our residents are really concerned about when it comes to our community, when it comes to law enforcement, is the speeding aspect and catching these speeders. So that the children can play in the street and our residents can feel safe. If you want to touch on that about the certification process and things.
Thank you, Mayor. And that is one of our main focuses with regard to the village. We have certified several officers. However, it's a very long certification. It takes a couple weeks. So, Chief Mendes. And the staffing has been our limitation with regard to getting everybody certified. But we are in the process, we're requesting additional lasers. And aside from that, we still do our watch orders, we still do our traffic enforcement, no matter, and we still address the matter.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And with the watch orders, that's so important. I always get residents who are like, hey, like I see the police like over here and they're on this corner, or I see the police over here behind this tree. And I'm like, yeah, because they have a watch order. So, they're there and they're making sure that area is safe. And they're like, I feel so safe when I'm walking my dog in the evening, or when I'm walking and when my kids are outside and they're playing in the afternoon. So I just want to say thank you for that. And it is very important that for the speed guns, for that certification, that it is a long certification. And so since it's 2 weeks long, just kind of keep everything in perspective, we can't have multiple officers out of work for 2 weeks to get certified with that. So it's steady coming along. Any questions from the committee? I know we have Councilperson Martin, who's also here, who's not a committee member, but if she has any questions, she can jump in also. So any questions from Vice Chair Erbaum or committee member Ward? And then we'll go to our visitor, Councilperson Martin.
Just a quick comment. As we become like rolling out the lower speed limit, as that happens, I've already talked to the manager. There was an item a while ago, a long time ago, where we wanted to put out like yard signs to help like encourage people to slow down. And so we had discussed in council that it'd be nice to have yard signs that say something like, slow down, you took the scenic route, right? Something like that's not, because really the most chronic and habitual offenders are not going to be deterred by like getting yelled at. And so I'm a chronic and habitual lifelong speeder. And so that's part of how I know that. And so anyway, as we get, I've been calming down as I've gotten older, but as we roll this out, I'd like to kind of coordinate, and this is just to have on the record, getting some, like putting that into action and getting some of those signs out there to kind of like, because it's going to be shocking to the public at first. You're going to have a lot of people who play dumb and go through, oh, I didn't know, all that kind of stuff. So anything we can do to help you guys kind of get that message out to the public, so it's not, so the transition is a little bit smoother with people kind of acknowledging, hey, this is the way it's going to be in terms of a lower speed limit.
We're looking at addressing that through the using our signs, our digital signs, social media.
Yeah.
That'll be part of the educational portion of introducing the new speed limit. And we'll take advantage and we'll add other points there as well.
Yeah, that's
that way
awesome.
we have the outreach that we need to comply with.
All right, that's great. Anything at all you think of that we might be able to help you with, please let us know, and we'll be trying to be out there getting the word out as well. So
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Erbaum. Committee member Ward, Lightfoot Ward.
Let's see if we can talk to the mic. Good job, Chief. That's all I've heard on that end of the village. Good job. I'm curious though, because I've been asked, what's the cars that, what do they do when they park over by the gate at Horseman?
They work in conjunction with the public school officers.
Yes.
Right now, we're lucky enough that they assigned a second public school officer, and it's just a transition between the kids coming into school, going out, just seeing the presence, and monitoring that stop sign that's on 86,
Okay.
because it gets very dangerous when the
It
kids
really
cross
does.
over there,
Mhm.
aside from the speeding on the school
On
zone.
the school.
That covers Third Avenue and Second Avenues. And we also address the complaints that come from the citizens, especially during pickup, because a lot of the residents have people blocking the driveways or burning the grass on the swale. So we're there, and we're part of an ongoing informative approach to letting everybody know this is the correct way to pick up the child, this is where you stage. And that way, we're able to find a happy medium for the residents as well as the parents that are picking up
Okay.
the kids.
That's in the front of the building, yes?
Correct, but we
Okay.
also monitor Third Avenue on the rear.
On the Third Avenue side, the question is, why are they here? And the answer is to stop the speeding,
Correct.
but it doesn't. Is there any way, and this is no criticism at all, it's a question. Is there any way to do humps? That is a long runway, quote unquote, from 90th Street all the way down to where the painter, Jeff, what's the painter's name? Jasper Paint lives. And I mean, they take off, and the time they stop way down at the corner of 90, I think it's 90th, and come straight up, they come straight up morning and evening.
With regard to the bumps, we've come into limitations there with regard to the county. And we can't dare do that on our own because there's a liability involved with it if we do it on our own. Aside from that, we are looking at a new speed control
Devices?
program
Okay.
that's come out. We thought we had a vendor, but they claimed to be a sole vendor, so we backed off of it. Now we're gonna interview the three
Okay,
to see which one works the best. It's a civil citation. It's only for school zones, so they'll be covered on either side. And it'll be for people driving 11 miles an hour over the limit.
that's right.
The ordinance is already in effect through the state of Florida, and we'll get part of the benefit from that as far as the citations. And aside from that, so will the school crossing guard program
Okay,
and other programs for the kids in the school.
okay. But you know what side of the street I'm talking about. I'm talking the back of the back of Helms
Correct.
Man.
And since it's adjacent to the schools, if it was all four sides, they'd cover all four sides. But here, they'll cover second and third.
But you know it goes down to Jasper's house, right?
Yes.
You know that. It is
And-
not
and
safe.
we haven't given up on that. It's something that we continue to work
Okay.
to work on. Unfortunately, if they have to move away and you see a speeder or two, but they have the watch order, that means they gotta go back every day and they gotta comply with it.
All right, I believe you, Chief. I believe in you. All right, it's just very dangerous now. I mean, they don't even live in the village. They're
Understand?
coming from outside.
These are the people that cut through in the morning and in
That's
the
right.
afternoon.
That's exactly right. Thank you so much.
Yes,
No.
Thank you very much, Committee Member Lightfoot Ward. I know I have two distinct guests. I have Vice Mayor Perella. I have Council Member Martin. Is there anything you guys want to ask public safety wise?
I have a little question. I like being called distinct. I like that. I'm gonna start adding that.
Well, you
to
know
my,
what? As a matter of
my
fact,
byline.
as a matter of fact, distinguished.
Oh,
look at
even
that.
better. It gets better. I had a question. I read about these civil citations in the school zones. I generally think that it's like an amazing way to keep kids safe. I wanted to know, functionally, when do you think that is going to be implemented? If you have an idea as far as the timeline.
As far as the timeline, the time that it takes me to compare all three programs to get whatever they're gonna forward to us in writing so we can compare it. That way you can see it, evaluate it, and understand why we're going for a certain one. Some offer more proceeds from the citations. The biggest catch there that I'm worried about is if we wanna exit the program, I don't wanna end up with a massive fee for exiting the program early.
Yeah.
The red light cameras, I was a little scared of. It turned into an administrative nightmare in my prior employment. This is much different, and we'll be able to fathom it with our manpower.
Okay.
Because we're not gonna get that much volume out of it, but it will be a great deterrent.
Perfect. And you knew exactly where I was headed with how the red light camera situation ended up. So I'm glad that you're keeping your eye towards that as well. And yeah, I look forward to seeing who is the source that you suggest that we use and looking at the pros and cons of it. But generally, I think it's a great thing for the safety of our kids in the community.
It's a great tool. I'll prioritize it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin, Vice Mayor Perella. You good? Any last questions or comments from? Yes, go ahead. Major Harrison.
Major Harrison.
Major Harrison's making an
I wanted to
appearance.
add, this year, the current JAG grant, I just submitted it last night. We specifically put it for radars. It's about $2,400, a little bit over that, but we put it for radar and to help us get radars, like fixed radars in the streets, whatever that buys, because we know that traffic is our number one problem here, which is actually not a bad thing. Compared to crime, I'll take traffic. We'll handle it.
Absolutely. Appreciate that, Major Harrison. And shout out to Major Harrison for little Madison. If you guys didn't know, Major Harrison, who was the father of 4 boys, now has his first little girl. So I just want to say shout out to you because of that.
Yes,
Little Madison, little Maddie. Any last questions or comments from the committee or Councilperson Martin, Vice Mayor Perella? Good. Before I have them sit down, any last questions or comments from the audience for the chief or the major?
Good evening. Jay Ribeiro, 225 Northeast 86th Street. Chief, I would like to know, when we contact 911, and they answer and say they're going to transfer to the city. How long does it take, or who actually answers that call?
That's Miami-Dade County. That's through dispatch. The
Right.
same as if you would, they would immediately notify us because the dispatcher, the operator contacts the dispatcher who puts out the call to us.
Okay, Saturday, 5:50 p.m., and I have a video. 911 was called. 911 said, you belong to the village of El Portal, we're gonna contact them. 6 minutes on hold, nobody answered. The vehicle ran over the sign that's over here at the circle, eastbound, got a flat tire, drove through here, hit a car in the top lot, drove all the way down, zigzagging, and left turn on 2nd Avenue. I was on the phone during that whole time. When he turned left on 2nd Avenue, I did not follow, but I have a video.
We'll follow
So
up on that.
somebody did
Follow
not
up on that with
answer,
Miami-Dade.
and it was a concern because, as you know, we have no sidewalks. Somebody could have got hit. So,
It's not common, and I'll
I know.
follow up on that to verify what the delay was.
I know, I just wanted to bring it up to your attention in the council, because there was not a connection done properly.
We'll be sure to get back to you on that so you know exactly what happened.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so just to be clear, so everybody understands, 911 goes through the Miami-Dade County. It doesn't come straight to El Portal. So if there's, if there's a lag or if they're not answering or things like that, it's Miami-Dade County that problem is with. Also, if people didn't know, I went to a meeting about 6 months ago, and they were talking about there's a shortage of 911 operators all throughout Florida. As a matter of fact, as Mr. Ribeiro was just talking, all I did was right now was Google Miami-Dade County 911 dispatcher shortages. The first thing that pops up is WPLG Channel 10 shortage of 911 operators. First thing that pops up is an article about that. So it's something that Miami-Dade County really has to deal with, and so it hurts El Portal, but it's Miami-Dade County who's in charge of that. Say your name and address for the record.
Jonathan Strauss, 533 Northeast 83rd Street, off in the other side of El Portal, Skatebird, Miami. I just want to commend the police for all the work that they do. They really have, and I know it's hard for them to get to where we are. We've had an extremely safe space. I knock on wood, we haven't had any theft or things like that of that nature in the time that we've been open. And I just I heard about the speed zone signs. I would love to make sure that we get some speed zone signs too, because there are kids that are skateboarding and they cross the street because the public parking is across the street. So whenever our parking lot is full, a lot of kids are crossing, and I see a lot of cars zoom through there because that's the way to I-95 to cut some US 1 traffic. That's all. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any last questions or comments, you guys? Any last questions or comments up here on the dais? Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you very much, Major. Appreciate it. Madam Manager, we good? You good? All right. Thank you very much, you all. All right, take care. Any last good and welfare? I think we've had a couple people come up and speak during the general review. Any last good and welfare? Hearing, seeing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion made by committee member Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Chair Erbaum. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing no ayes and no nays. The Public Safety Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023 is adjourned at 6:49 p.m. I'm going to move right into Administration and Finance as soon as Full Moon is ready. We ready? Shout out to Full Moon. The Administration and Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023 is called to order at 6:50 p.m. We've already had a moment of silent meditation. We've already had the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call, please?
Roll call. Chair Nickerson.
Here.
Vice Chair Martin.
Here.
Member Erbaum.
Present.
Member Pirella.
Here.
Member Lightfoot Ward. Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Cristia Lu, Village Manager. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Madam Clerk. Approve of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Committee Member Lightfoot Ward. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Martin. May I, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving on. Good and welfare. If anybody right now wants to come up and talk about anything administration and finance, you can come up and say it right now. You have another good and welfare at the end. Three minutes. Say your first name and last name for the record. Hearing, seeing none, moving right along. General review. CFO Tuberfield, if you would just kind of come up and briefly just touch on where we are with, because I think the most important thing, we just had budget season, so we kind of know, just going into this new fiscal year about the budget. We went over that with 3 different meetings, but as far as the audits, which is very important,
Sure.
kind of like where are we with the audits? Like, are we caught up? When's the next one due? And I know we have also just briefly touch on the different type of audits.
Sure.
Because, all right, thank you very much.
Sure. Harry Taubenfeld, CFO for the Village of El Portal. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So to just give you a brief synopsis in the finance, as the Mayor mentioned, we just wrapped up budget season, which the Council approved last week. There's still some administrative stuff that needs to be done as far as some filings to the state as well as locally that we're working on this week, that we should get out this week and meet all the requirements as it relates to submitting all the trim notices. As it relates to the different types of audit, I'm sorry, I'll first start with the annual audit. We are in the process of finalizing the 2022 audit. As everyone is aware, we've been playing catch up. 2022 started around August time, so started around, I think it was June or July, so we're on track to get that finished hopefully in the next 2 to 4 weeks, and then roll right into the 2023 audit. We've already had conversations with the auditors, and the goal is to file and submit the 23 audit on time, which is June 30th is the submission date, last date for submission to file on time. So we're tracking towards that, so we can get that done. As far as the different types of audits, we do have the annual audit, which is a state requirement. We also have a CITT audit that the village undergoes every 5 years. We're finalizing that audit. That audit time frame was from 2017 to 2021. So we just are waiting for the final report from them on that, and once we get that, I guess we could submit that information to the council. I guess that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Thank you very much, CFO Tuberfield. Any questions? I mean, we just got a budget season, so I think a lot of things have been answered, but any questions from the committee? Yes. Committee member Lightfoot Ward.
Your professional opinion, what condition was this village in before you came? Give me a number, percentage.
I think the struggles of the village were mainly due to Hurricane Irma, right? And I think with the hard work of the council and the manager, we were able to recoup a big portion of the outstanding monies that were owed to us from the state of Florida. That has, and I'm sorry, and the mayor as well. I'm sorry, Mayor. That has, helped stabilize the ship, so to speak. It's also enabled us to work with Synovus in paying down the note, which again, when I started here, it was $1,250,000 with really no, I don't think, a vision or an understanding, a vision how to pay it. In the hopes of getting the money from FEMA. Since then we've collected roughly $1 million from FEMA, so we paid that down significantly, and we're also working with the bank in getting that note paid off over a 5-year term. I don't know if everybody remembers, but last year when we signed that note, it was a 5-year note with a balloon payment at the end of the year. With the payments that we were able to make with the FEMA reimbursement, it looks like there will be no balloon payment coming up at the end of the 5 years. So over the next 5 years, we should be able to support the pay down of the note to Synovus. So that's also a plus. So again, were things a struggle when I first started? Absolutely. But I think through hard work from everybody here on the council, again, the mayor, the employees, the staff, and everybody,
And yourself, Mr. Tuberfield.
I try not to take credit. We're getting to the point where things are stabilizing. Still work to do, but definitely in a lot better place today than we were.
Give me a grade. What would be our grade when you first start? Give me a grade. A to F.
A to F, we'll go with the C minus.
You're gonna give us a C.
I'll give you a C minus.
All right, where are we now?
I would say we're probably at a B, B plus.
B plus?
There's definitely B. Yes, there's still room for improvement. But
So that
we're
C-
definitely on the right track.
That C was a minus, wasn't it?
I think that's being politically correct.
Uh-huh.
I think we were, I think you're being nice to the.
Yeah,
to
I
the
think you're being
previous-
really nice, but that's okay. I applaud you.
Thank you.
Because if you brought us from, since you brought us from that terrible situation, not mismanagement, just not doing it properly, yes?
I don't want to speak for what, I can't really answer that. Obviously I wasn't here, so I'm not trying to deflect from the question. I can't speak for what
All right,
transpired when
let
I
me-
wasn't here. I can only speak for the time that I was
Let me be a
here.
little more diplomatic. You walked into what was but should not have been.
That's a fair statement.
That's all I need to know.
Thank you very much,
That's
Councilman.
all, that's all.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lightfoot Ward. Appreciate that. Very good. You should run for office. You're very political, CFO Tuberville. Anybody else, questions or comments, you guys? All right. From the audience, questions or comments? We're good? All right. Last good and welfare. If anybody has any questions or comments, 3 minutes, first to last name for the record. Appreciate seeing, hearing none. Do I have a? Yes. No, no problem. No problem. Okay, all right, but do you want to do that at the council meeting in October? Okay, all right.
Motion now, and only a motion.
Okay, understood. So we'll address that. Yeah, we'll address that for the agenda at the
Yeah,
at the.
put it on the agenda. That's really the request. They just put it back on the agenda.
Okay. Well, myself and the clerk, we do the agenda with the manager, and so we hear you. We'll address that at the next council meeting through the agenda. All right.
And since we are on administration, no, I'll do it on a different one. I was gonna say something that doesn't have anything to do with administration and finance. I'll do it on the next committee meeting, all right?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn? You guys?
So moved.
Moved by Committee Member Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairperson Martin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Better than last time. All opposed say nay. Hearing none. The Administrative and Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023 is adjourned at 6:58 p.m. Thank you very much, you all.
So we're doing good on.
I'm ready. All right, full moon, you ready? Good. Okay. What? You're gonna what? Oh yeah. Oh, but you'll be here. Okay. All right. All right. I'm calling the Code Enforcement Committee meeting for October 2023 to order at 7:02 p.m. We've already done silent meditation and pledge of allegiance. Is it possible to get a motion? So
It's a
forgive
roll
me.
call.
Roll call. Yes, thank you.
Roll call, Chair Urbom.
Present.
Vice Chair Perella. Member Lightfoot Ward. Also present for the record, Mayor Nickerson and Councilperson Martin. Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Cristia Lu, Village Manager. You have a quorum.
Very good, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Moved by Dr. Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second? I'll second. Second by Vice Mayor Perillo. All in favor say aye. Aye. Yes. Yeah, that's helpful. I had the same question. All right. Very good. Okay. All in favor say aye. Any nays? All right. For the agenda. All right. Hearing no nays, we will move on to. I will have another good and welfare at the end of this committee meeting as well, but I'm happy to entertain any initial comments for the Code Enforcement Committee, if there would be any comments from the public during good and welfare. Hearing none, we'll be moving on to the first agenda item, F1, noise ordinance. If I could please have Officer Fitz take a microphone. All right, so there's been a few things that have come to the forefront in terms of code enforcement issues. Noise is probably the first of the list. Lights is in there, as well as a few other things. And I suspect that short order we'll have fences back on the table too, so. All right. Officer Simmons, so as we get into this, if I could ask initially, what has been your primary frustration with the current state of the noise ordinance as outlined in our code when it comes to residents who are essentially issuing noise complaints? It might be one-off, it might be, habitual, but in general, what has been your primary frustration with our code as it is?
Basically, the the noise ordinance as it current stands is very subjective. It depends directly on the individual that's making complaint as well as the individual that's conducting an investigation, whether it's me or PD. Not to mention the code section in regarding amplified sound. It's two sections. It's broken down into two different parts. My apologies. It's two different parts. You have the second part, which establish a location as well as a time frame, which absolves the subjectivity of the other portion of the ordinance. But as it stands, 24/7, the ordinance is very subjective.
Okay, and so because of that subjective nature of the language in the code, it becomes a sincere challenge to properly enforce, because you essentially have both sides can argue the citation from both sides ad infinitum forever, right? Because there's nothing essentially concrete to point at. So, for example, I know when people want to hear about decibel levels, but the only place decibel levels are mentioned in the code is for HVAC units. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
HVAC equipment.
Right. So, these pieces of machinery that sit in the exterior of a building, they generate noise, and so it becomes a concern if it's not properly maintained. You get if it's older, outdated, things. There's a number of reasons why an HVAC unit might generate that kind of noise, but that's not really the noise complaints that we deal with primarily. Is that right?
Yes.
So, primarily, is there any one specific type of noise complaint that is most common, or is it different things, different times for different reasons?
The most common is amplified sound.
Amplified sound. So,
Music.
okay. And so, just for the benefit of the public record, within the code, there is a section called Prohibited Acts under Chapter 13 Noise. Section 13.2 is Prohibited Acts, and item number 2 in that Section 13.2 Prohibited Acts, bands is listed first. Bands, radios, televisions, phonographs, etc. The playing of music by any band, orchestra, musician, or group of musicians, or the using, operating, or permitting to be played, used, or operated at any radio receiving set, television set, musical instrument, phonograph, or other machine or device for the producing or reproducing of sound in such a manner as to disturb the peace, quiet, comfort, right? So, certainly amplified sound qualifies for prohibited acts, right? So there is times listed in there, the operation of any such set, instrument, phonograph, machine, or device between the hours of 10 p.m. and 8 a.m., so that is a 10-hour period. Sunday at 10 p.m. through Thursday, right? Those 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. restrictions are in place, and between 12 a.m. and 8 a.m., so that's an 8-hour period from midnight to 8 a.m. for the days of Friday and Saturday. Playing in such a manner as to be plainly audible at a distance of 100 feet from the building, structure, or vehicle in which is located shall be prima facie evidence of a violation of this section, right? So, this language in Chapter 13 noise Does it address multiple zones, or is this specifically Z3 residential?
It's all zones.
It's all zones. Okay. So, so let's talk about Z5 real quick. So industrial, right? Commercial. Okay. So within that zone, all we have, so we could have construction, active construction sites. We could have event venues, and within that area, right? We could have businesses. We could have all kinds of activities
Yes.
that may, generate noise that would violate this prohibited acts, specifically item number 2, right? Number 4 is power tools and landscaping equipment. But within this prohibited acts, right? As you do your daily duties, and specifically, again, this is all just noise. Everything we're talking about is noise. So in your daily duties, is there anything within the code that allows you to enforce noise complaints any differently in any one zone or another? Or is it just, it's all just general, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Let's consider just residential for now. Okay, the Z3, just standard residential. Do you feel that this noise ordinance, as it is worded, is sufficient to deal with just everyday Z3 residential noise complaints? Or are we still, even in that scenario, dealing with the ambiguities that you're saying?
Yes.
Still.
Same scenario, just not as frequently in relation to Z5.
Okay. Let me ask you this in Z5. This is probably specifically to the Barrington Brothers development, the Cavista project. So with construction, with sound limitations, right? Are they beginning construction on any given day before 8 a.m.?
No, I haven't received any complaints regarding.
Okay. Have you received any complaints at all regarding construction noise activity, specifically from Cavista?
No.
Okay. Either after hours or early morning, weekends.
After hours?
I mean, like-
no. During prohibited days, yes.
Okay. So sometimes, so on a Sunday,
When it occurred on a holiday.
occurred on a holiday. Okay. All right. Was that a one-off issue that was resolved, or is that something that every time a holiday comes up becomes kind of an issue?
No, one-off issue.
It was a one-off issue. Okay.
Considering the circumstances, they did comply with the lawful order, but regarding prohibited acts, it is a health and safety, pretty much a public nuisance. So after the GC was warned about the $5,000 fine for the owner, as well as the $600 fine for the GC himself, they complied.
Okay.
Complied within an hour.
Okay.
Oh yes, I am. I don't know.
I do believe you're. We have
I think
audio is good for him, or yeah.
Just quiet.
is
Okay.
it on?
Just closer. I can hear it. Do you want to try this one? This one 100% works. I'm sorry.
It's not your fault. We know we got some outdated equipment here.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Better. There we go.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, okay, wow, okay.
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 Good, wow, loud now, okay. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So, since the time that the council provided for amendments to the code, are we up or down with noise in the village at particular times?
Well, before you answer that, have we made any amendments to the code since the noise codes?
No, there's
Right.
been no amendment since I've arrived.
We passed an ordinance the front part of the year or last year that basically strengthened our code because it wasn't there. I'm asking a very simple question. Has it changed the atmosphere? Because let me tell you what we did without you. I went door to door on my street. I went door to door to the people that usually did the loud noises. Turns out they're Airbnb property. And I said, listen, it's noisy. I'm the council person. I'm coming in on a friendly basis, but you can't have that noise. You can't have them in the streets. You can't have the riffraff on my block. Why my block? I have no idea. I'm not trying to guess that. And they recognized that you cannot do that after certain hours. And if you do, keep it inside well, they got a big old pool back there. And the property is always being seemingly turning over to new people. I have nothing to do with that. I went and visited our neighbor over there, and they don't do that. They don't have that ordinance that we have, allowing things to come into the village. What I'm asking is, since it took one person to stop on my street, because my neighbor, my council person lives right, she's more impacted because it's further down the street and she's on the next street. I'm thinking about that kind of stuff. I'm further on the other end of the street. Nobody ever does anything in the middle of the street. They always do it on the ends of the street. What I'm getting at is, to what extent has your enforcement of the A to Z, what extent your enforcement of the code is proving to be productive?
Well, based on the way the code is written, as I stated, is universal. So what applies from Z3 is Z4, Z5. Normally within the Z3 areas, the frequent complaints regarding amplified sound and loud boisterous noise is specifically related to vacation rentals. Whereas depending on where you are in the village, some is associated with our Z5 area that's adversely impacted by it, like Sherwood Forest, since that's just the closest area. As the code is written, it aligns verbatim with Miami-Dade County. And the last time this was implemented, it was February 28th of 2012. Mm-hmm. So regarding Z3 areas, the frequent noise complaints is in relations to vacation rentals. We have the one-off here and there where the owner of the property is having, a family-related event. But outside of that, those are normally the complaints I ever dealt with. I haven't, is one, maybe two properties in particular that are vacation rentals that I actually had to cite repeatedly. Outside of that, it's all been Z5.
Are you pleased with your presence in addressing the noise?
Well, normally a lot of it is occurring after hours. So thanks to our police officers that respond and address these calls. So based on the evidence that they're able to document along with the police report that's provided to me, has been very effective with enforcement.
That's right.
Whether or not they comply is a different story, but when it comes to our complaints and it being handled, yes, it has been efficient.
So you're working in
conjunction with PD.
In conjunction
yes.
with, okay. So are you satisfied with what's been going on as opposed to what was when you came here? I'm trying to get a level of attention, because it may be gone from my street, but I can't just be concerned about my street. I have to be concerned about the whole village.
Yes.
Okay.
Regarding noise, like I stated, it's a very subjective topic. So what bothers you may not bother me. So it is at my recommendation that we do have a study conducted, some type of noise survey, so we can establish a decibel chart to have something more black and white and take us out of the gray area, because as the ordinance stands, the only thing that does absolve us of that little sketchy gray subjectivity area is the second part when it comes to, the Friday and Saturday, the time frame and the distance.
Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So, thank you, Dr. Lightfoot Ward.
Thank you.
So, let me ask you this. In other municipalities, do they have separate noise ordinances for different zones?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. There are a few municipalities that actually do have like a decibel chart system.
Is that usually the difference between the zones, is decibel and distance?
Yes,
Okay.
residential, mixed use.
And then there's a little bit of activity thrown in there because some activities are allowed in
Yes.
Z5 that might not be allowed in Z3.
Yeah, like
correct?
the when using like a sound meter, the only sound that actively can be measured is amplified.
Okay.
So it is written specifically for amplified sound.
Okay, so that would be amplified music, the same as amplified like MC voice.
Yes.
Okay.
Any band instrument.
Okay.
Something, through a speaker.
You don't even within the realm of amplified noise, you don't see any kind of separation between voice specifically and other noises, like.
Well,
I'm not-
you can't measure it.
Right.
And that kind of, when it comes to, I am
Because the
sound meter
decibel level is
certified.
the decibel level is a decibel level. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that actually, I'm sound meter certified. So when it comes to the sound also being included, that makes the reading inconclusive.
Okay.
It's specifically the bass and.
No, that's helpful. So part of my line of questioning is simply to satisfy kind of the public record, right?
Okay.
So what I would like to see is the village establish noise ordinances for the 3 zones separately. I think that the study would help us accomplish that.
Yes.
In the meantime, we need to find a way so that the onus of enforcement is not put on law enforcement officers who may or may not have, they might have different levels of knowledge of even what the noise ordinance specifically says, right?
Or tolerance.
Okay, so one thing might bother you, but not someone else. Exactly as you were saying, it might bother one officer, but not another. And our code, it really leaves that to the discretion of the officer because the code is not clear enough to say, hey, for everybody who would read this, this is the reality, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what to do in the meantime, right? Until we would get the council to approve the study that you're talking about, until we would be able to really, so chapter 13 noise, there are 6 sections, 13.1, 2,
That's
3,
right.
4, 5, and 6, right?
6 sections.
7.
So is there a 7th
Why
one?
you got
Yeah,
seven?
that related to shouting,
Oh,
Okay.
screaming.
Okay, very good. Okay, so
When
disturbance.
you're having too much fun.
So okay, gotcha. All right, so public disturbance specifically.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, all right. So this evening at this committee hearing, I was hoping that we could get to a recommendation of changing language that we could take to the full council to at least begin to alleviate this problem, because here tonight we have Jonathan Strauss, the owner of Skatebird, and I know that everybody on the council has been aware of residents from 83rd Street who have an issue with the event noises, right? So as it stands right now, Sunday night, beginning at 10 p.m., right? So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, each of those evenings, beginning at 10 p.m., that same noise ordinance that I'm looking at here applies to all 3 zones. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So just quickly, I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but just quickly, in reference to Skatebird specifically, are most of those ordinances issued on a Sunday through Thursday after 10 p.m.?
Yes, it's been weekends. Yes.
Been weekends. So the weekend, Friday night and Saturday night, that noise ordinance does not essentially take effect until midnight. Is that correct?
The prima facie
Well,
portion of the ordinance.
There you go.
Yes.
What I mean by does not take effect is that there's no teeth in the noise ordinance until midnight in terms of, hey, it's midnight.
No, because
Right.
as I stated, the first part of the ordinance states that it should not be louder than necessary, and that's when I take it back to the subjective
Okay.
part of the ordinance.
That is very well taken, because Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to also state, because I want it to be clear, the noise ordinance is enforced all the time. It's not just during
No.
at midnight you can, no, it's the entirety of the day. So I know Mr. Simmons and I met yesterday and discussed that, how that's always in place, whether it's operating hours or not. So you can speak more about that.
Yeah, and I greatly appreciate that clarification. So, I can speak facetiously sometimes. I've been known to be. I use humor quite a bit, unfortunately. So, including sarcasm sometimes. But so I do greatly appreciate that clarification. So, kind of what I'm saying is, and I will have Mr. Strauss come up in just a moment, because now we're kind of into that specific issue, right?
Okay.
So what I'm trying to understand with at this point, Z5, but specifically 83rd Street, right? Are most of the noise complaints from that area coming? You're saying weekends mostly, because that's when the events are. Are
Yes.
most of the complaints or most of the citations resultant from noise after midnight? Is what I'm asking.
No.
No. Okay.
Even prior
Okay.
to.
Okay. All right. So on that point, I would like to ask Mr. Strauss to come up if you'd like to. I'm not requiring you to, but so here's where we are with a little bit of an impasse with our noise ordinance. Okay, we have a business owner who has stated on the record many times, as I'm sure he's about to do again, that he has no intention to be disruptive to the neighbors. It is not his goal. He's not he's not disregarding neighbors' concerns, right? And having said that, correct me if I'm wrong, but what steps have you taken to address the time before midnight on a weekend? Let's say that. So leading up to midnight on a weekend, what steps have you already taken to address that sound?
Clearly, there's an issue with the ordinances. I mean, the code enforcement officer mentioned it himself. It's a gray area. It's very hard to follow it to a T.
There is no T. Yeah.
I'm a law-abiding citizen. I love my neighborhood. I love the neighborhood I've moved into as a business owner. I invite them all the time to come through the park. We actually give scholarship to several of the kids on our block, and the trouble here is tonight. I thank Ms. Alou for clarifying that the noise ordinance is in 24 hours, but it doesn't specifically state that in the noise ordinance as it is. So I know Councilperson Urbam made that mistake and trying to question the officer now. So I think this is great. It's a growing pain for the village. I think it's an amazing step forward. We do want to operate our business and we want to abide by the law. So I would love to have that designation clarified as soon as possible, because it does impact where we stand and how we operate. We've done a really great thing for the community. We have a great project that's at hand, but if the gray area is so much, the noise fines shouldn't be happening, and we've gotten noise fines, and really, I think as a business owner, there should be an urgency from my part, which I have. I've come forward to the village. I actually have a sound mitigation plan to help correct whatever disturbances there are. We are purchasing curtains to be able to mitigate the sound. Even enclosing the building wouldn't stop sound from happening totally, but we are doing things that'll treat the sound that won't affect the neighbors. I don't know if it'll eliminate all effect of the sound, but if we have a time frame that it can be done in and we have a clear decibel level that it can be performed with, then I think there's a happy medium that we can all attain. And I hope that that's what the purpose of these meetings are. And I hope they've always said it takes a village. And so it does take everybody to work together. And that's what we're trying to do. We have an opportunity to give the creatives of this world, which is what Skateboard has kind of morphed into. It's not just a skate park. Yes, it has skateboarding as its epicenter, and it's it's what brings the community together. But so many like very talented artists have come through Skatebird now in the short time that we've been there, and it's become a platform for kids to get off the street, for families to meet, for very wealthy kids to be with the very not as fortunate kids, and we've created this hub that there are no barriers, you know, there are no differences in who you are, and it's created a really amazing platform that the footballs and soccers and basketballs of the world don't.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm gonna round this up. I need to yield. Do you have something to say?
Yeah, I don't know if we were at the portion. Oh, no, I just wanted some clarification on a couple points. Thank you for coming out, but also from the code officer. Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward stated that there was an amendment to the noise ordinance, so I just want to get some clarification on whether or not the noise ordinance has been amended since 2012.
I can't 100% with certainty say that it did, because the current noise ordinance states here under Muni Code that the last time it was actually implemented or amended was February of 2012.
But in your tenure functionally, you haven't had any knowledge of an amendment. And the attorney is not here to speak to whether or not there has been an amendment, or do we know?
But I believe the clerk would have
Do you know, Madam
frame of
Clerk?
reference on this.
I remember in 2015 when I started, there were 3 of them. I'm not too sure. I have to go back and check. But Muni Code should have been updated regardless, because anything that passes through as an ordinance will go to Muni Code.
That's right.
Okay.
So there might have been resolution, or, I mean,
No, the only way to actually,
It
it
has
would
to
be
be an
through ordinance, because it would have to change
The actual
there,
code.
the
I
actual
think what-
code.
I think what Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward is referring to is
Maybe there was a
our short-term
conversation.
rental ordinance. And there was a mention of the noise ordinance in there, but I don't think we've amended it. And I think that there were significant issues with our short-term rental ordinance, so a lot of those things that you might glean some comfort in really aren't functionally in effect, because our ordinance did have some significant issues with it. So I just wanted to clarify that part. And I also wanted an idea of how much does this noise study cost and how long it would take?
We're currently going to try to get a few quotes.
Do you have a
I will-
ballpark? I won't hold you to it. Just like ballparking. Are we talking tens of thousands, a couple hundred?
Let's hope, fingers crossed, a couple of hundred.
Okay.
I doubt it will be upwards of tens of thousands, considering our municipality isn't that large.
Okay.
But I am working jointly with the Cordina Group to seek noise surveyors, because what I've seen thus far, they mainly do like, building, like a business, something on a larger scale of a municipality, that I am still kind of doing the research about an actual noise surveyor that could take the time.
Yeah.
As well as I will also collectively get some of some municipalities that I do know that operate on a decibel scale, so that we can also reference to those to kind of get an idea of where it should be.
Okay. That's interesting, because with everything that we're thinking about doing, I do want us to think about engage in a benefit cost analysis, right? Because this is a very subjective topic, as you rightfully say. What I don't want to do is expend a tremendous amount of cash to still end up in the same place, which is like, hey, I think this number is where we should be, or that number is where we should be, and we do it, and then there's still kind of this conversation as to whether or not I can hear it and it bothers me, you know?
Yes.
So I'm just kind of hearkening back to just the very subjective nature of the fundamental issue, and whether or not there is some sort of just numerical consensus that can be reached. We've heard it before, but there are some people who, when you tell them a certain decibel, they perceive it to be jarring, other people might not.
Yes.
So I do want us to consider the cost and benefit when we're looking at those numbers. And then as far as the specific complaints as it relates to Skatebird, I want to know, let's just say in the last 6 months, like, how many people are we talking about that are complaining? Do you know? And I don't want names, but just like a ballpark.
Upward of 3.
There's 3 people.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
consistent complaints.
yeah,
Okay.
consistently, yes.
And I assume that these people all live within the same area.
Yes.
Okay. Also, when I go back there at Skatebird, I see there is something that looks like a housing complex right next to it.
Yes,
right.
to
Where
the
is that in?
to the west side.
Yeah,
Yes.
is that
It's
in El
multifamily
Portal
Yes.
proper?
Yes.
To the west. Yes.
west.
It's
Okay.
multifamily, yes.
And do we have any complainers that reside in that structure?
No.
Okay, okay. All persuasive things for me. So my desire is to fall in line with what was stated in the charrette as the intended desire for the city, right?
Well, based on the design of the property, the west side, based on where the system is placed, the west side of the property does have a wall.
Okay.
So
A
when
small,
it comes,
a shorter wall.
Yeah.
Because when I go back there, I literally am looking at doors.
That's
Yeah.
And
That's right.
I would think that that would be the source of the complaint.
Yeah.
However, with just a little bit of research,
Yeah.
I've seen that it hasn't been. So this is what I do have to say on it. And, you know, I have no dog in the fight as to where we land. Actually, I do have a dog in the fight because I want us to land where we want to, right? So we've all made this aim at this charrette as being this place where you can come and you can eat and you can enjoy coffee with friends and almost like a mixed use, right? If we make our noise ordinance so restrictive, people will not want to come here because there is no way to really program in exclusion of a bit of music or you call it a vibe. You want to go in some place and just like the Citadel, you go in and you hear a little something, but you're also drinking, you're chatting with friends. So I want to make sure that the complaints are actually reflective of the complaints of the masses and we're not being hamstringed by the will of 3 individuals who are complaining. And I don't know if that's what that is, but I do think that it's important to take a look at who is complaining and how frequently they're complaining and also look at who is not complaining.
Yes.
So sometimes we have the tendency to deal with the squeaky wheel, but we also have to look to the larger community and see whether or not they think the addition of these venues are valuable and if they would like to see them run out of the village, which is what will happen if we engage in this process of creating a noise ordinance that is entirely too restrictive or unreasonable. A lot of people will figure out, hey, where do I want to place this thing that I'm doing? They will look at what has happened to business owners in El Portal, and they will say, well, wow, I don't want that to happen to me, and they might pass us over. Maybe we want that, but if we don't, I think now is a good time to really engage in an analysis of whether or not we want to pump the brakes this harshly.
Well, Councilwoman Martin, based on the way the ordinance is currently structured, it is extremely restrictive. In a sense of me personally, if I was conducting an investigation, as well as what I informed our officers, based on the structure of the ordinance, the burden of proof regarding code enforcement, you know, the bar is so low. So it's more than one of them things where noise should not be exceeding your property line. That is extremely restrictive. Whereas we can hopefully get to a place where it actually alleviates, you know, that how restrictive the ordinance is.
I completely agree with you. I think that the ordinance needs to be fleshed out and presented in a better way.
Yes.
But with every effort to create good legislation, you have to start with sound intent. Like, what am I trying to do here?
Absolutely.
Right? And if the current ordinance that we have does not fall in line with the intent for where we see the village going, then this thinking of, hey, what do I want to accomplish by this? And then we can look to, hey, how do I need to tailor this ordinance? Because I agree with you. There should not be this level of subjectivity to it. There should be clear, communicable guidelines that people can follow and also city officials and officers can enforce. So I support that endeavor completely. I just wanted to be noted that I am of the desire that we take a complete look and talk to all of the village as to what the intent should be when we start crafting this document.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
thank you to my colleague over here. I went to your business. It's an open air. It's not a whole building, is it? It's an open air facility. It's not like it's a building like this all closed up. It's not. You haven't seen the company. This is why I like what my colleague just said. It's an open air. It's gonna be loud. It's gonna be, I thought you could close it in. But I don't forget that I was a child once too, and we didn't have places like this to go. But the open air, it's a open structure, period. Am I right or wrong? It's an open structure. It's gonna have noise. When we said okay, I don't think we knew that it was gonna be an open structure, continue to be an open structure. What was probably when I moved 30 years ago was a vegetable stand or something like that. It was open, it was always open. So when I went and saw it, I went, oh my gosh. Council, if you haven't gone to see the place, now we know why it's so noisy. But I'm not hearing a whole lot of people come, because I live on the far side. But I'm still concerned about the whole village. And thank you so much. It's only right. There's only so much you can do, given the structure, given the appearance, the built out of the structure. The noise is gonna be there. And as you said, and I like the language that you said, you gave consideration to the decimeters. Is that what we're talking about?
Decibel.
Decibels.
Yeah.
You gave consideration to that. But ladies and gentlemen, council people, if you haven't seen it, there's no way he's gonna be quiet. And I mean quiet, because it's an open structure. It's open. You've seen it, you know what it looks like. So I don't wanna keep beating the horse. I really don't. You chose this village and we voted it. Now, you said you've made adjustments, but there's only so much you can do. The rest of it you can't. I don't think that the goal is to run you out of town. But is there a happy medium? I did not know it was open. I didn't know it didn't have all walls until I went and saw it. Then I remembered the vegetable stand or something like that. It was something that you need fresh air all the time. I didn't know that. So I'm putting that on the record to let folks that don't know, it is not a caved-in building. It's an open structure. And the noise level, you did lower it. You did lower it. But it depends on who's there, who's playing that night. That's what's really getting at. You don't hear anybody talk about it in the daytime.
Well, I don't think the complaints are coming from the regular operation of the business.
That's
The
right.
regular everyday is about the mini concerts and special events that they've been doing to, what I understand is to keep the place running as, to help economically throw in parties and stuff like that at night. It's mostly the complaints, right? The
Yes,
extra
do-
loud music.
Doing special
And
events.
again,
'cause-
and yes, being that open, the noise will travel more north to south, right?
Yes.
So no complaints from the buildings right across the street from the Miami side,
Yes.
from that.
Well,
multi-unit,
no complaints
public-
coming from east and south
Right.
of Miami, but
Right.
it's more northwest.
northwest. And
Yeah,
north,
northwest.
Yes.
That's
So
frequent
that's what
complaints.
the complaints have been coming from, not the regular, everyday noise of the business, but mostly the special events and the
Yes.
concerts and stuff like that. Which it wasn't the intent for what I understood of the nature of the business. But yes, I don't know, you mentioned looking at different municipalities where they had, and I don't know if you looked at city of Hollywood, because they have a very good ordinance when it comes to decibels and the
Yes,
study they've done, and
Fort Lauderdale.
they have something separate from for Airbnbs, and how they are the Airbnbs will actually have to get a device to measure the decibels and all
Actually,
of that.
a lot of the municipalities, in reference to vacation rentals, they operate on a plainly decibel chart. I mean, on a plainly audible chart when in reference to vacation rentals. Aside from vacation rental, when it comes to residential, mixed use, commercial to residential, they do have a chart established
yes.
based on where you're taking the noise measurement from.
Right.
Yes.
So theirs is very complex. It's very good. It has that.
Yes.
Yeah.
In addition to the fact that, considering that our municipality isn't huge, it won't be as much of a challenge compared to some place like Hollywood or Fort Lauderdale. But we do need to stray away from that gray area, especially with everything that is up and coming for the village, because Z4, Northeast 2nd Avenue, is mixed use. So, yes, a skateboard is not allowed in that area, but there are other businesses on that current avenue that do special events here and there where they're playing music, considering what's potentially may be constructed at the church. So it's definitely something that I'm recommending and suggesting, and I will provide, some reasonable suggestions to hopefully that don't require us to get a noise survey done, but
Sure. Yeah. So I would like to see the committee essentially take a couple actions here. One would be to direct the manager to just get 3 quotes for a noise study. Let's find out what the ballpark is. So that's one thing I'd like to see the committee do is direct the manager to get those 3 quotes. The other is I would like to see kind of a almost wish list from our highly qualified code enforcement officer in terms of, hey, Z3, Z4, Z5, this is an outline, again, not to go too far into the weeds, but an outline of parameters that we should have in place in each one of these zones, right? Without going into the weeds, without getting, I don't think we need to make this more complicated than it is. We're simply dealing with an outdated code. We need some modern suggestions, right, of how to do this. And to Councilperson Martin's point, here's the goal, okay? So here's the goal. We're looking for a code that can be applied uniformly, okay? So that's my concern with not having Z3, Z4, Z5 separated, is because how do you apply a code the same way on a purely residential street as you do in a purely commercial area, right? Mm-hmm. So my initial frustration is that we have no separation of zones in terms of noise specifically, yes. Right? That's my initial frustration. So goal number 1 would be to identify what we need for each of those zones to make our code more modern. Again, we're never going to please everybody. It's not going to happen. And, the skateboard has been a lightning rod on this issue because of the 3 or 4 residents who may or may not be El Portal residents. They might be City of Miami residents, right? And there it is in the purpose of Chapter 13.1, peace or safety of others within the limits of the city, right? So it becomes even a convoluted point of whether or not someone from outside the city can even make a complaint because it says so clearly within the limits of the city, right? Now, so So of course they can. Of course they can. I know they can. So
because it aligns also with the county code.
Yes. No. But again, just there's example after example after example within our code as it is that we are not modernized. We are not up to date. We are not with the times, right? Mm-hmm. So the primary goal of getting us with the times is so that we can have a code that can be applied uniformly and fairly so that we don't have to have one officer versus the other officer making the decision about how it's going to be applied. That's not fair to the officers. It's not fair to the business owner. It's not fair to the complainants, right? It's definitely not fair to the code enforcement officer. So right now we are not being fair to anyone. We're really not with our noise ordinance. We're not being fair to anybody. We're not being fair to you. We're not being fair to our Leos, and we're not being fair to the residents because we don't have a code that can be applied uniformly in those areas. So, by my asking you to do that in terms of, hey, Z3, Z4, Z5, add, omit, right? Is that a fair request of me to make to you? You are well within your right to say, hey, look, you know, so let me know if I'm
No,
Okay.
that's fair.
Okay. All right. So those are the two things I'd like to see. I'd like to see direction to the manager to get those 3 quotes so at least we can have a baseline of what we're dealing with in terms of that. I feel like we cannot wait for that anyway, and we need to have discussion about updating language within the code in the meantime, right? So that's the other suggestion is that we through the manager direct Officer Simmons to kind of give us the add this, omit this, and kind of break it down into a Z3, Z4, Z5. And the reason this is important is because of everything that's on the horizon here. So here we've begun the development of the village, started in the last administration. We have, a successful business in the village to show for it. And so, the council, this ordinance is unfair. It's unfair to the enforcers. It's unfair to the residents. So in that, I will say one last point, and then I'll open the floor again to others. But I do want to say, again, I definitely agree with Councilperson Martin's point that we don't want to be unnecessarily punitive either. So, I got neighbors who've lived in this village since 1978. They're in their 70s now, right? So I remember when he turned 70, they had a blowout, We partied and threw a 70-year-old one of the best birthday parties ever, right? So I wouldn't want to see something that would create a situation where residents would not be able to, enjoy themselves for those types of personal events and things like that, family coming over, all that kind of stuff, right? So, but what we are going to experience, and we're already experiencing straight from Officer Simmons' mouth, is that, there's going to be other issues outside of Z5. In Z3, we've got short-term rentals. It sounds like that is where a lot of the noise complaints, specifically in the residential areas, are coming from. But we've got development going on at 2nd Avenue, sewer going in. People are going to start being able to connect businesses specifically along 2nd Avenue. This is the let's nip this in the bud now while we have a chance, I guess is what I'm saying. So I would be looking for this committee to give direction to the manager to get those 3 quotes. And I know you have a lot on your plate, and this is, okay. Yeah. Okay, so, yeah. And really the 3 quotes is not really that's not the big thing we're going after. What we're going after is changing the language of this code, noise code, to be more modern, to fit our needs more specifically, because as you said, it is copy and paste from the county. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, and by the way, we do need to keep whatever baseline things are in from the county. We cannot go more lenient than the county, but we do have the ability to get a little more precise and put some things in that the county did not account for, because county is very large in general. We are very small, and we have the ability to make things more exact.
In addition to also holding the actual responsible person for, the
Accountable.
violation,
Right.
holding them accountable,
Right.
versus just the the property owner.
Right. All right. Very good. With that, anyone else have? Yes, by all means.
I do. I also I love your emphasis on fairness, because I think what we're trying to get to is something that's fair for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because of course, skateboards shouldn't be allowed to just play whatever they want to at whatever decibel they want
Mm-hmm.
to. But there's an in-between. So I appreciate you trying to get to the in-between. I also want to make sure that we loop in the lawyer, the city's attorney, when we're looking at like possible language for an ordinance because it's very important, very precise. Also wondering if there's any way that the Corradino Group or Pluserbia can give us any sort of guidance or input.
I can reach out to them, but my experience with Serbia has more kind of a general knowledge when it comes to something like a noise ordinance. They might have some
Would they have, like, a
suggestions in terms
model?
of design.
And then
We
you
can
could
find
just-
out.
Okay.
We can certainly find out.
Because
So-
I just like dealing with like specialties. So
Right.
if Serbia has like a model ordinance, it maybe can't fit within the confines of Miami-Dade County, but maybe can get our
Well,
minds
they
going
very
in a
well may
certain
because they work
area.
with Miami Beach, and Miami Beach probably deals with this the most of any municipality in the county, I
Yeah.
would think. So,
I think that might be a great place
So-
to start for a model.
right. So even if they don't consider themselves expert on it, they might find, oh, you know what, we do have all this information from all the work we did with the beach.
Yeah.
So, okay, I will definitely reach out to Juan and ask him for whatever.
May I please? We
Yes,
already
please.
have Corradino Group also engage with Mr. Simmons
Oh,
on this. So if we
perfect.
could just continue.
If their
Perfect.
rates, yeah, and if their rate, yeah, exactly.
You have thought of it all, Madam
Okay.
Manager. Yes, if the Corradino Group could kind of layer on their expertise, you tell them the functionality of it, make sure it's legal, then we're looking at like a document that might
All right.
be popping.
I would like to close this meeting to the council just for a moment and open it to the public. If anybody from the public would have any thing to say about noise ordinance specifically that they haven't already said, or yeah, please. Yep. If you want to speak, you can stand up here and be ready if you want.
Sorry, Jonathan Strauss again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify one comment Councilperson Perella mentioned. I just want to tell you a little bit about the industry and how I presented when we originally were approved. Skateboarding is the trendsetter in fashion, art, music, and culture. So the music, yes, some of the events that we've had, yes, they are a means to the business. We're now in a stable position where in the past, yes, we did take on whatever came. Now we are selective so that it is curated to work for the skate culture. And so that is the move that we're going with in terms of the noise and things like that. But music is a big part of skateboarding, and it always has been.
Very good. Just state your name and address for the record. No, sorry. Next speaker. Yeah, sorry. You're good.
Charles Winters, 377 Northeast 85th Street. How's it going, guys?
Very good.
I just wanted to think, I wanted to bring something up for consideration. Earlier, you mentioned that it's possible people from Miami City or Miami Shores can complain about us. I live right here in Sherwood Forest. I haven't heard any of this sound, and I'm pretty close, I think. But what I have heard is the Citadel. Has anyone in El Portal complained to code enforcement in Miami about the Citadel? And no one's ever brought that up, so it's a good thought.
Very good. I very much appreciate the question. Officer Simmons, I would love to hear your comments on that. And by the way, yes, I'm glad to see you guys shaking hands. Mr. Strauss, that's who I was trying to put you in touch with. So before you guys get out of here, I know you have to get to Palm Beach, but do make contact with each other because that's who I was trying to link you up with earlier. Okay.
Per chapter 162, that's the Florida statute, and as it relates to code enforcement, anyone, regardless of the individual, regardless of where they live, they are allowed to file a complaint as long as they provide their name and an address. So a non-El Portal resident can file a complaint regarding Skatebird. Based on the way our code is written, the way I would approach.
But the direct question is, do we know of any? Because Citadel is not within El Portal.
Yes.
So we don't have that at our fingertips, right?
No.
But I think it might be beneficial to find out if Citadel has received any complaints from within the city limits of El Portal. I would be very curious to know that information. And I think this goes kind of to the thought that Councilperson Martin was laying out earlier, which is, what are we really truly dealing with here? Is this a mass complaint from residents within El Portal saying this business is disruptive, Or is this a few people who are within a very specific proximity who are the ones who have consistent reason or need to make a complaint, right? So I think that's part of the calculation of, okay, what are we dealing with here in terms of, because like, let's say we find out the Citadel has 30 complaints against them from El Portal residents living over on us. I mean, that would be that would be important to know, you know?
Yeah.
But again, I just want to keep us focused. So I would be looking I guess I'll ask the clerk, I'm looking for a motion to direct the manager from my two committee members to essentially engage in the activity she's already engaged in, which is let's establish those 3 quotes for a noise study. I would very much like to just get that out of the way.
I'm
So
sorry.
why would we do that
You have-
if she's already doing it?
To
Why would we do that?
to put it on the record, I'll make the motion.
Yeah, you have to
I
motion.
would like to move to direct the manager to obtain 3 quotes for noise level studies within the village of El Portal.
You have to motion to move it to full council. She takes directive from all
There
you.
you go. Okay, thank you. Very good. Okay, I would like to move that we bring it to the full council to direct the manager to obtain 3 quotes on noise level study within the village of El Portal. Do I have a second?
You got your second.
Very good. I'm sorry?
You got your second.
Very good. Second by Dr. Lightfoot Ward. No, you know what? Sorry, I have to close the meeting to the public, bring it back to the council. There we go. Okay, now I move
Now you can
to put this to the full council to direct the manager to obtain 3 quotes for a noise level study within the village of El Portal. I have a second from Dr. Lightfoot Ward. Is there any discussion on this matter between the committee? Very good. May I have roll call? I'm sorry, vote, yeah.
Roll call. Member Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Vice Chair Perella. Chair Urbam.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right, so I know that was a little bit, redundant, since the manager is already engaged in this activity, but I wanted to at least get it on the record and establish, for the benefit of the residents, that we are moving forward with this. The other thing I'd be looking for would be the full council to give direction to, through the manager to Officer Simmons to give us a breakdown of what is needed, what is desired in terms of code language for Z3 specifically, Z4 specifically, and Z5 specifically.
Point of order.
Yes.
You kind of jumping the rope now. That's an administrative thing. Why are you putting it up here with the elected officials?
Because this is Code Enforcement Committee, and the chair of Code Enforcement would like to ensure and even guarantee that this gets done. It is it's not any commentary on why is the manager doing this. That's not the point of the commentary at all. The point is to make sure that this gets done.
Well, I apologize. I thought I heard the manager was already on it.
Well, she's already on obtaining quotes, right? But I'm going to stick with my guns on this and get this all on the record. This noise issue has been a burr in the side of El Portal for a very long time.
All right.
The STR ordinance that we're working on plays 100% into this. So if we get ahead of this, then we'll be in much better shape for a much stronger STR ordinance as well. And then if we can get this in motion officially on the record, moving forward, then the next thing we're going to be starting to address is light, as well as other significant issues that the residents have brought to the attention of code enforcement and would like to see addressed.
Understood.
So I will make the motion to bring to full council to give direction to the manager to have Officer Simmons do a write-up on what we would like to see, okay, almost like a wish list, but don't forget what we need to omit. What language can we be done with? But I mean, this is almost from scratch because we don't have any separation of the zones anywhere in our noise ordinance. So I mean, when we're done with this, we'll have an almost from scratch noise ordinance updated zone by zone. That would be the ultimate goal of what we're trying to accomplish here. So my motion stands. I'm not sure if I have a second.
I'm sorry. Is it to give her directive for collaboration with the attorney and Mr. Simmons and the zoning board?
So initially here, because
You just one?
I intend to be calling meetings,
To the meeting,
so yes,
for the next council meeting?
for the next council meeting. I'll be honest, at this point, I'm specific, my motion will stand as it is, I suppose, because I really do want to know what our expert, who is Officer Simmons, has to say about this first. And again, I think this isn't so complicated. I mean, we have lots of other right now our code is copy and pasted from the county. By the time we're done, our code might be copy and pasted from another municipality. I mean, I don't think we need to overthink this and make it more complicated than it is. However, what we have in front of us is not working. So, I don't think we need to go over the edge here.
I don't know what the directive is.
The directive is, as I originally stated, I would say.
Just
that,
to have him come at the October meeting.
Yep.
And, Chair.
To review the noise ordinance and give guidance
To an updated ordinance specific by zone. Mhm.
And I understand that, and
Yeah.
yes, we'll prepare that for you.
Yeah. So,
For the council and for planning and zoning.
Right. So is that a second from Perella? Okay, so we have a second from Councilperson Perella. I will ask if there's any discussion from within the committee on this motion. Very good. I will take roll call then.
Roll call. Now, Member Lightfoot Ward? Vice Perella? Chair Urbam?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right, very good. All right. So, as with all things in government, things move slowly. I've said it before, you don't really want your government to turn on a dime because a ship this large, everything gets upset, right? Hopefully this puts us in the right direction and gets us some momentum into some finality for an updated noise ordinance. All right, moving on to the final item, the general review of the Code Enforcement Department. Officer Simmons, if I could have you up here just one more time again. Sorry, I have actually kind of one specific question regarding the Department of Code Enforcement in terms of what we're here discussing. So I lost it. Where did I go? There we go. All right, sir. Within the budget that we just approved and reviewed, not the upcoming budget, but last year's budget, fiscal 2023, right? I noticed something within there that caught my attention and that we discussed briefly, but didn't take up a lot of time because we were focused on the 24 upcoming budget, right? So in the 23 budget that has just ended September 30th, within code enforcement, I see a line item that says education and training. And then year to date, the adopted budget from last year is $500. And then the year to date expenditure is $10,800. So I would like to ask, have you gone through $10,800 worth of education and training in fiscal year 23?
This past year, the only training I've done related to code enforcement was done last week. My last level 3 for the FACE, there's 4 certifications for code enforcement. I arrived at the village with 3. Level 1, 2, and 4. I just took the level 3, which is legal issues, last week. It was the entire week.
Okay. Would you know?
And may I
yes,
also
please.
add, you also did the parking training when you first started with the village.
No, I was parking certified.
You did another training. I recall you doing something when you came on board. but I'll review.
Okay, so Madam Manager, 2 trainings, do we know what the total cost of those 2 trainings were?
No,
Assuming
but-
that was a training at the beginning of his tenure?
Yes. No, I don't. I didn't prepare for that.
Okay.
Sir, but we can get that information to you.
Okay, so, thank you, Officer Sims. So my concern with this is that, you know, as, on the council, we're presented with these budgets, and they're fairly generic. We don't, you know, we see a line item, but we don't see, you know, for lack of a better term, receipts, right? Like, and that's not really what our job is, to go through line by, like, you know, receipt by receipt and do the village's finances, you know? That's what the CFO's job is to do. So I just want to bring it to the attention of the committee that this type of discrepancy within the budget is problematic. Last year, the adopted was 500. This year, the adopted is 5,000. I'm all in favor of education and training. It's vitally important, so I'm perfectly happy with that 5,000, as was discussed in the budget hearings. But Madam Manager, I do want to understand at a future committee meeting why that 10,800 is put there as seeming like a placeholder. This might go to a larger issue with CFO and things like that, as opposed to with
Right.
Mr. Simmons, right?
Absolutely. This
So-
probably would have been better for admin and finance. We could have gone through it with
Very
them.
good.
But I can attest to, we did pay for Mr. Simmons' face, but we won't have to do that again.
Very good.
So that is another reason why we lowered the price, because, I mean, we weren't expecting to have to pay that training, but we did. So
Okay.
we won't have to continue to do that each year.
Very
And
good.
I believe that is why it's been lowered.
I just want that to be on the radar, because that was just such a glaring, question mark of, and that, when we went through the budget hearing, I mean, I had brought it up, but there was certainly not a satisfactory answer from the CFO. But I didn't want it to let it go here as we're talking about general issues within code enforcement, and at least establish it on the record that we need to get that sorted and answered. And I will state publicly that my concern is that, seeing large dollar amounts where they're not supposed to be, raises red flags and questions. And so we've come through a lot of drama, and hopefully we can avoid repeating that kind of drama in the future. Within the rest of the department, how is the vehicle?
Oh, functioning well.
Okay. And then, is there any other pieces of equipment specifically, or devices, et cetera, that you feel you are missing, that is needed, is required?
No. PD has provided me with a printer, a computer stand, as well as a power source. So that will be installed in the car
Okay.
pretty soon.
All right.
But I have all of the equipment necessary to effectively do the job as of right now.
Is there a piece of equipment that you're thinking we really should need or have or want?
Considering the software that is being utilized, the tablet isn't as efficient in the field as I would hope.
Is that in terms of an operating system being able to be compatible, or is it more
Yes.
like the computing power of the iPad?
It been compatible,
Okay.
because on the tablet I am unable to review documents through the GovPilot app.
Okay.
I will still need to utilize the actual internet.
Right.
So it would be more efficient for
An updated
actual
iPad.
computer
Okay.
in the field
Okay.
versus the tablet.
Gotcha.
That's been the only setback.
Okay. Very good. Does anyone else on the committee have any questions, concerns, compliments, or complaints regarding the general state of the Code Enforcement Department?
I don't have any complaints. I've gotten residents who didn't realize that you were on board. They have very good comments about you, very good. You come out, he's polite, you're not accusive of anything. You ask questions, and if they don't respond accordingly, you change the question around so that they can, so they know that you're kind of a teaching code enforcement as well. But no, I on my side of the village, it's behind Horse Man. So we talking about from the, who's on the corner down there? the painter, I keep forgetting his name, from his house down to the 90th Street, I have not been approached. What I've been approached with is, I'm asking them, why aren't you coming to the meetings to be informed? And then they come to the conclusion that we're doing a good job, but I've heard nothing. They know about you. They do know that you're here, but I have had no negativity, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, thank you, Mr. Simmons, sincerely. All right. Before I move on to adjournment, I will go with the last good and welfare. If anybody from the public would like to speak on any topic at all, very good. Seeing none, yes, sir, absolutely.
Jay Rivero, 225 Northeast 86th Street. It's 8:14. This meeting started at 7. As always, code enforcement meeting goes extremely long. However, that's just my pet peeve here. We have multiple issues that have been spoken at the council. At the previous code enforcement meeting, I see no action. Where are the ordinance? Where is the language that you are providing to the attorney? I haven't heard any updates in regards to fences, standard fences in the property, and construction fences. There is a property next to me that is constantly calling for concerns on everybody else, but that property has not been sanctioned. Full construction, and there's no safety construction fence in the front. So what's going on there? Lights? I mean, why do we need to turn off all our lights? My personal safety and security of my property, it's a concern. You know about lights issues. Why has no ordinance or information have been written up so far? The noise. I remember you speaking about the noise during the Airbnb challenge that's been going on for over 5 years. Where are we? Because the Airbnb ordinance hasn't been finalized. I know the attorney was working on it. I know the rates were being worked on, but where is it? It's been a year since the last creation that Ms. Martin was the chairperson that created it. I've seen nothing here. What else can I tell you? Noise, lights, fence, construction. I've been here over 20 years, peacefully living in my house, never had any issues with any neighbor, but now I have issues. Officer Simmons is waiting for me to go to my house to resolve a pending issue about the lights. Raccoons, that's another one. Feeding raccoons. There's one that had 4 babies. I call the county, they're not doing anything about it. I have to bring a private company and pay for it when they were being fed by the next door. So is the village gonna do anything about it? No. It's money out of my pocket, because now they are in my land, destroying my yard, and if I have my lights off, my safety is a concern there. And I have brought that issue up multiple times. So I want to see action. I don't want to just all talk and no action. Time to talk the talk, walk the walk. Elections are coming up, and I will be talking to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So those are issues, I guess, there's more like on a planning and zoning committee, right? Like lights and fencing and all of that stuff, yeah. And when it comes to privacy fence for construction, do we have that in place? It's a required?
But yeah, those are Vice Mayor, those are zoning, planning and zoning matters that
Yeah.
need to be addressed through ordinances.
Yeah, only actual, when it comes to doing construction, fencing barriers in place, that's only an actual commercial site, like a construction site.
Okay.
Not residential, no.
Residential. Okay, got it. And as far as like frivolous calls and stuff like that, somebody that's been calling for no reason and stuff like that, and you know, we're one person department here, so it's, have you seen that it's something, because I guess that will be more of a lawyer's concern, I mean, a question, whether there's anything that could be done to,
Yeah, that
Those
would
type of
more
calls.
so be definitely a question for the attorney, because per the state statute, as long as someone provides their
Provides their
name and
names.
address for a complaint, I'm obligated by state law to investigate.
right,
Whether or not it's legit or frivolous.
got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
I do have something to say. I think the gentleman says that he's come to the code enforcement meeting to lodge these complaints, like wherever it is that you've lodged these complaints, they're valid, and you deserve to have quick action. And I think this is part of the reason why at the next council meeting, we'll be talking about the length of time it has taken for us to have a functional short-term rental ordinance, and that directly relates to our village attorney. And I hope that you're there to voice your frustration with the process as well. As far as fences are concerned and planning and zoning, we're taking a comprehensive look at an overhaul of all of the fence regulations, but that takes time. If you're talking to a specific code enforcement issue or a code enforcement complaint that was lodged against you, then this would be the meeting to address that, and not necessarily the complete overhaul of the fencing structure in the village, but the fence ordinance as it applies to you and your property. So this would be the valid place to lodge that. I just kind of want to make that differentiation. On some of those issues, I have heard you speak before, especially the short-term rental ordinance, which is something that is near and dear to my heart, and I would love for it to move faster than it has moved before. And I am disheartened by the fact that the ordinance that we do have currently is riddled with incorrect information, unenforceable law. And that pains me because my name is on that. But now that I have taken the approach of vetting all of the information provided to me by myself, because I'm also an attorney, yes, I share your disheartenment in the fact that our ordinance is wholly inadequate. And I hope that once we take a look at the village attorney position, we will land in a better place and be more nimble and able to pass these ordinances in a timely fashion. So I apologize to you for the time it's taken on the short-term rental ordinance, and I second your thought of coming to the code enforcement meeting to talk about the code enforcement issues that you have that have not been addressed, and I hope they're addressed shortly.
Very good. Anybody else for good and welfare? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Do we have a second? I'll second. All right, second by Chair Urban. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, the Code Enforcement Committee meeting is adjourned for October 2023 at 8:21 p.m.
All right. Anybody need a break up here? You need a break? No. Okay, nobody needs a break. We're gonna continue forth with. Yeah, we're gonna go forth. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving from Code Enforcement Committee, meeting into the Public Affairs Committee. I just was handed some stuff. Madam Manager, you wanna make this presentation? Because if it was given to me earlier, I could do it ad-lib, but, this is just a whole bunch of stuff, honey.
You want me to roll call? Roll call. Chair Lightfoot Ward,
Here?
Vice Chair Martin,
Here.
Member Urban,
Present.
also present for the record, Vice Mayor Perella, Janice Jacoby Village Clerk, and Cristia Lu Village Manager. You have a quorum.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving forthwith, we have already done all of the administrative necessities of parliamentary procedure. So we're gonna move right into public affairs. This is Tuesday, October 3rd at 7. It was supposed to start at 7:30, but it's almost 8:30, so let the record indicate what time we were able to start. Madam Manager, I see you're at the podium. We don't have to do A, B, C. The approval of the agenda is at hand. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second to commence with the agenda items. Madam Manager, since you're up at the podium, go right ahead.
Okay. I recognize that the village council really is the face of the village and conduct the public affairs of the village
Very
through
good.
your initiatives and
State your name.
town hall meetings and what have you. And I know that Councilperson Martin this summer did the Junior Birders program.
We want to talk to you about your name,
I'm sorry?
name, village manager.
My name is
Yes.
Christia Alou. I'm
That's
the
it.
village manager of
That's
El Portal. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chairperson Ward. So again, I wanted to just spotlight the programs that, and initiatives that we have been undertaking, or that you all have really been undertaking. And I'm just spotlighting that with, by showing the flyers. But the Junior Birders program was initiated this year, and I'm sure Councilperson Martin will continue that effort in the summer It was a great idea for summer and to really amplify the bird sanctuary status that we have. Also, I wanted to bring to your attention that the El Portal freebie shuttle will end on October 14th. This is all on the village website, by the way, but I just wanted to use this opportunity to just highlight that, though we are saddened by, October 13th, Friday the 13th. Sorry about that, folks, but Friday 13th is the last day. And so we want to thank our El Portal residents who were able to utilize the freebie, but we had to discontinue the service because of poor ridership and just the funds utilized for that through our CITT. It was not an inexpensive endeavor, and we just can't sustain that with those low numbers. So we're going to move forward and utilize those funds for the speed limit reduction project and to just do some things in the village that are related to transit and transportation. And lastly, I want to bring to your attention, we have two guests here, El Portal residents and Miami Beach High School seniors, Shira Evans and Emilio Gogriciani. Okay. They are here visiting with us, and they have initiated a book exchange program to supplement the village's little library located just in front of the Tot Lot Park here. So the ladies are here, and I ask that you just indulge them for 2 or 3 minutes while they talk about their project and what in the school program that they're in. Ladies, if you will go to that microphone, you'll have a little more success than I'm having here.
Hi, thank you for your time. Good evening. My name is Shira Evans.
And my name is Emilia Gogriciani.
As she said, we're both seniors at Miami Beach Senior High School, and I live in El Portal, and we're here to represent our new community project called Reuse, Read, Recycle.
We wanted to create a new resource which provides opportunities for easy access to books in the neighborhood. El Portal has a little library, which is a small mailbox where people have 24 access to books.
We believe the little library near the Village Hall can be an amazing aspect of El Portal and has great opportunities. By creating a book collection to expand the little library, we will give nearby residents a simple and efficient approach to donate their books for a good cause.
Through recycling gently used books and giving others a chance to read those books, it can increase literacy rates, give others a chance to give back to their community, encourage more people to read, and prevent books from going into our landfills.
We aim to include a variety of books for all ages and books in the different languages spoken in the community. Flyers will also be posted throughout the community, such as at the Village Hall, to advertise this project.
Books can be donated at the El Portal Village Hall, and we will maintain and provide the books for others through the little library located at the west parking lot of the Village Hall. We hope our effort will make an impact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
No, I just want to say kudos. I really love books, and I love the idea of recycling books and suggesting books to others. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if I was doing such cool things when I was in high school, so I applaud you for that, and it's a great idea, and let me know how I can support.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, and I'll say some of the best books I've come across in my life have been books I've acquired from, random places, someone, somewhere, things like that. So, and then I have a fair number of books on my shelf that I love dearly, but I have read many, many times, and I would be ready to part with them and be glad that someone else would be able to pick them up and use them. So I think the electronic marquee out front could also be a good way to get the word out. So this is fantastic. So.
My comment is, I cut my teeth on libraries. I worked in a library for so long that I can't forget a book. I'm always there. Is it going to be big enough for what you all want to do? The current structure large enough for what you all envision?
We hope so, and we hope so, and we're gonna be like replacing the book. So if a book is there for a long period of time, and there are other books that are in the book donations that haven't been shown, then we'll rotate them. So there's a constant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. We also hope to kind of replenish by repainting the little library, just to add a little bit more vibrant color and appeal to hopefully get more donations.
Okay. Is that all right? The village manager says that's fine. I take it
that
that
is
you're
fine with
painters.
us.
Yes, you're painters too, huh? I like it, but I can't help but like it. I cut my teeth in libraries. That's just it. I can't help but it. And I'm one of the culprits that find a good book, keep a good book until I finish it, and put it right on back, or put some of mine in there. I have lots of books. I'm ready to dedicate them all. Is this a school project that you're doing in your school, or a club that you're in?
This is a program within our school called IB, International Baccalaureate, and it has a CAS strand in it, which is a CAS project. So we decided that in order to do a CAS project, we would donate our time to creating a little library. But since you guys have already one, we decided to kind of add our kind of initiative on it and hope to donate more books to it.
Okay.
We were like, it was like part of our school is a community service project, but through like the support of everyone, we're really motivated to do it and like work harder on it. So it'll be extended throughout the whole year, hopefully.
Okay. Madam Manager, would you be adverse to it being built larger if their school shop people wanted to come and change it?
No, I wouldn't be, but, we own the little library.
I know.
And we would make that purchase. I wouldn't put that on the school, but, we can talk offline and figure out how to, because I believe, we bought that 3 years ago. It may be time for a new one.
Yeah, I only thought about it because that's what we did when I was in school. We built and put it in an area. It was actually the Liberty City Square, where the projects were once upon a time. I know you wouldn't know anything about that, but that's what gave me the idea, larger, so that you could do more books in it, and it would be sustainable. Very good.
Chair, may I? Hi. I'm so happy that they're coming along because I've been maintaining that library.
Yes.
I'm the one who, I am like,
Yes.
trust me, I'm the most thrilled person here right now. That library was at the front, and I do see a lot of, they do really come and donate the books, and they exchange them. Sometimes they've left me like canned goods and, diapers and stuff in there, and but El Portal residents use it a lot, and the kids actually who come from the school, I do see them with their parents, and they come and exchange it. It used to be in the front, and then they changed the location. I did see a lot more traffic for exchange since I've been keeping it in the front, but then it was changed over here because there was more for visual. Yeah. But this is music to my ears right now because I do it every day, and I see the residents coming by. I'm like, this is really music to my ears.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then.
Thank you.
So at the end of the day, and you're seniors, right? 12th graders. This is part of your getting out. What made you want to do this? What was it?
we had to decide a community service project for
A
our
community service, I thought that's what it
Yeah.
was, yeah.
And like books are a big part of our lives, and like there's always people in need of books, and like we don't have a full length library in like directly in our community, and this is a quick way for people to.
Very good, excellent. Any more questions, comments, criticisms?
Just a final comment. I mean, would it be possible that we might end up with like an overflow kind of area on a little shelf, just like in here in the village hall, possibly, something like that?
Well, we actually, the ladies are making a bin for us to collect, for the books to be
Okay.
collected, and they separate them out. So they'll be,
Oh, that's
you
amazing.
know, again, different languages. So
Yeah.
they've already shown me some composites, and so we'll have, just like we have the flag,
Absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
repository, we'll have a book.
Okay,
Very good.
that is phenomenal.
It's these kinds of things that make me glad that I'm Public Affairs Chair, because I really didn't want to be Public Affairs at all, but now I've got the energy now, because when I see you all doing what we did, that really brings a smile to my face, as you can tell. Anybody else? Any more? Nothing? Thank you very much.
Thank you guys
Yeah,
for your
stay in
time. I
touch.
appreciate it.
Stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving forth with anyone else? I don't know, I didn't see that on the agenda, did I? No, I didn't. Anyone else? No one else to speak? Well, I have some things I need to share. I was trying to see if you all had something first. That's the polite thing to do. Anything to share? Okay, how about yourself? I got a few things that I need to share. Everybody, those of you that know, I fought to be on this committee, but I bless you for appointing me. I really do. I've been places and lots of places because they know I'm the public affairs person. Let me give you an update on what's really going on right now. You know that we're coming into an election year. I'm not here to promote anybody's party or anything like that. Just letting you know we are coming into that November, right, Village Clerk? November, elections in November, national elections in November.
In elections are going to be November next year. I'm expecting to open it up around August. Those dates will be announced. They will be on the website. And you guys have to approve that at the meeting prior. So yeah, that will be coming up next year.
That's right. I'm being bombarded, folks. Somebody told, and they said, well, you're in public affairs. I need you to kind of make some announcements for the village. Not a lot of people here, but I understand our television audience and is larger than what's in here. So I don't know how they do that, because I can't see us on the television, but somebody's going to train me to look at it one day or another. I have here, these came in very late, everybody. These came in very late, and I told them bring them anyway. There is a community meeting on tomorrow. The community engagement meeting on tomorrow, where the United States Attorney's Office will be hosting the community engagement meeting to focus on ways that office can continue to work together with incredible community leaders. The community engagement, I'm not reading all of that, is on tomorrow at 3 to 5 p.m. at Miami Edison Senior High School. Yay! Although I graduated from Northwestern, it was my school. Attorney's second floor. If you don't know where Miami Edison is, if you were on 62nd Street, you can't miss it. 6160 Northwest 5th Court. It's to be a very engaging meeting. I'm not going to give away everything, but that's open to anyone and everyone that wants to be there. I have been chosen to be there, always choosing me. What we're going to have is this person. This is the high point. We hardly ever have these type of officials coming to Liberty City. Nominated by by President Joe Biden and confirmed by the U.S. Senate. Lapani, his name is Markenzie Lapante. Mr. Lapante was a partner in the Miami office of someone else that I'm not going to name, where he handled commercial, high-exposed product liability, professional malpractice, criminal investigation matters. He is the guest speaker. This is a phenomenal for the community. It is quite phenomenal for the community to have someone at this status coming to us, not in a big fancy place, but at a public school, Miami Edison Senior High School. Those of you that can make it, it's from 3 to 5 p.m. It's for the good of the whole. It's not any campaigning, anything. It's for the good of the whole. Remember, he's appointed. He's an appointed official. Likewise, we have here a request. Public hearing invitation from FDOT. Now, you know the Florida Department of Transportation is vital in Florida. It just is. I got this thing very late, but I knew that we were going to be meeting Tuesday, October the 10th at 6 p.m. at the FDOT District 6 Auditorium. Where is that? That's on 1000 Northwest 11 Avenue, 111 Avenue. So we're talking about a long ways from here, but I'm looking forward to attending it. It's a public hearing invitation, opinions important to us, and learn about the Florida Department of Transportation. That's FDOT District 6. Whole different type of a meeting. I've not been to anything like this in years, but it's usually pretty robust. It's usually very robust in terms of its information. Other than that, the general information that's always coming is weather is changing. The weather is changing. The weather is changing. Our trees are now adults. Anybody remember when the trees were planted? They're now adult trees. Madam Manager, I want to commend you. They've been cutting routinely, but now it's more dangerous even for them who are cutting. The company is very neighborhood friendly. So I need you to know that. The neighborhood is, the people that are doing the cutting are very neighborhood friendly. They do come early in the morning and they stay until the sun goes down. Extremely concerned about how it's cut. I don't know about you, but my trees are completely adults now. Completely adults now. And I appreciate them much. If there was a way to do a formal comment back to the tree cutter company, if you need any help to write it, I'd be happy to help to write it, because they have not just gone through and just cut. They've gone through and been methodical about how they cut and which way it falls. And then they come back within 1 to 2 days to take up all the trash. Not like the other company that would take up a portion of it and then you gotta rake the rest of it and put it. They have been very good at getting the parts of the tree that they cut out without ruining the grass. Hello. They did run up on certain yards, mine being one, but that's expected with the big truck, so it'll grow back. Other than that, and not hearing from my colleagues, anybody with some final remarks, whatnot, we are running quite late, and I was trying to make this as quickly as possible. No offense to those that came ahead. We need this kind of discussions. We need these kinds of discussions. And we have one person that's always faithful to stay here until the end. Thank you very much. To our motion, I move that we close the Public Affairs Committee. And do I have a second? I didn't hear you. Okay, it's been motion and second to close the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposes. We are through with the Public Affairs meeting. Thank you so much.
8:41.
Ready for motion to motion to adjourn? Oh, what time is it now? It's something like, that's 20 minutes to 9? What?
8:41 p.m.
Okay, we're gonna do 8:41 p.m. We are adjourned. Thank you.
All right.
Party people.